tonight. My name is Steve Young. My background is I spent about 30 years in local government at the manager and director level in the fields of community development and economic development and redevelopment in cities around California and in Virginia. I retired in 2008 as the Director of Community Development at the Sacramento Housing and Redevelopment Agency, where I was in charge of redeveloping closed military bases at Mather and McClellan, as well as working in low-income neighborhoods of Sacramento County with the district attorney and the sheriff's department, trying to clean up bad apartment complexes. In 2012, I moved here and obviously was retired at that point and was looking to get involved in something, and was lucky enough to get appointed to the Planning Commission. So for the last 4 years I've been on the Planning Commission, and much of that time was devoted to the Crude by Rail project, which most of you are probably familiar with. That was a project that took 3.5 years to come to a decision. And in that 3.5 year period, because I am retired, because I know how to read EIRs and technical documents because of my background, I really dug into this pretty deeply and read all 2,500 pages of the EIRs, and of course listened to all the testimony that came in all the hearings and meetings. I wasn't allowed to ask any questions until the end of the process. That's the way the staff had set it up. So for this 3.5 year period, we just sort of sat there mute, listening to people's concerns. And when we finally had a chance to ask questions, I had 3.5 years worth of questions to answer. and I took advantage of that. I spent probably 3 hours that first night asking questions, and they were critical questions. They were analytical questions, trying to get into a lot of issues that I thought had not been properly analyzed. And there was a lot of criticism of me after the fact, including by some of the people up here, that I was grandstanding or showboating or just not giving other people an opportunity. But again, because of the way this thing was structured, this was the only chance that I had to get this information out and on the record. So at the end of the day, the commission voted 6-0 against the project, as most of you probably know. Valero then appealed it to the city council. Before the city council had a chance to act on it, they also asked to delay so they could go to the Surface Transportation Board on this question of preemption. And without getting too far into the weeds, the critical issue had to do with whether or not the city had the right to regulate Valero, because Valero was arguing that everybody understood that you couldn't regulate a railroad. That's a federal law. Nobody was arguing that point. But Valero was taking the position that because even though they weren't a railroad, they were using a railroad, and therefore they should get that same protection of preemption. The Planning Commission didn't buy that, but that's essentially what the argument to the Surface Transportation Board was about. It so happened that last Tuesday, the decision from the Surface Transportation Board came down the same day that the council was taking up this issue, and the Surface Transportation Board agreed with us, the Planning Commission, that Valero was not a railroad and did not get that same level of preemption protection, and the city in fact had the right to regulate it as a land use issue. And so the council voted unanimously to turn it down. Kudos to them. I think they made the right decision. But I think it's important to note that Mayor Patterson and Councilmember Campbell were against this project from the beginning. And the reality, I think it would be naive to think that having an election 6 weeks away from when this decision was in front of them did not influence the possible decision. I'm not going to take people at their word that they had the safety of the community at heart, but I think it was fortuitous that this election was happening at the same time that this decision was in front of them. But now it's done, and we can move on. There are other issues in the community, and one of the big ones, I think, is the Northern Gateway, or the Sino development that is being proposed, 900 units out on the Sino property at Lake Herman and East 2nd. I think that is problematic for a lot of reasons. I'm not sure where water is going to be, how are we going to get enough water for 900 houses with when the city is asking us, and we're doing a great job of saving water, but I'm not sure that we can provide that level of service for 900 new homes in the middle of a drought. In addition, they don't want to build a fire station, they don't want to build a school. That means that those costs would likely fall on the rest of us. And so for those reasons, I'm not in support of the project as it's proposed right now. I think in reality that property will be developed someday, but I would rather see the city decide what's going to go there. The city ought to have a plan for what they'd like to see out there rather than simply reacting to a developer's proposal.
Thank you. And I